Okay, y'all, so here we go again with the same old topic of men being allowed in women's sports. Now, we've had this conversation many times before, and we clearly have understood that this is not okay, that this is wrong. Number one, men are built different, their stature is different, their speed is different, and their strength is different. They should not be allowed to compete against biological women. And it's unfair to these women who feel like they have to share a locker room with them or feel unsafe or just feel uncomfortable in general because they're a male and these women are young or older women. But Riley Gaines, as always, stands up for this young female team who essentially had a male, a trans woman, but biological male, playing in the sport. And as she always do, she defended the situation of this school and this district breaking Title IX, which keeps biological men out of women's sports. And it seems as if Simone Biles has something to say about it. She called Riley Gaines a bully and said Riley Gaines should just mind her own business, basically, and stop antagonizing the trans community. Now, Riley Gaines was very, very shocked, and she responded to this. Let's take a look.
I have no problem with your position whatsoever, and I'm not scared to say it, and I've never been scared to say it. I think that's absolutely the right thing to do. Women should be competing against women, men should be competing against men, and transgenders should be competing against transgenders. I have no...
That is totally fair. It's already divided for a reason because of the genetic makeup.
problem with it whatsoever. I don't know why that's controversial, but when you think about what you've been exposed to and what you've had to deal with, it brings us to Simone Biles, which is why this is a subject that we had to tackle, because your stance and your position recently when you spoke about the person from Minnesota that prompted Simone Biles to post this about you. You're truly sick. All of this campaigning because you lost a race. Straight up sore loser. You should be uplifting the trans community and perhaps finding a way to make sports inclusive or creating a new avenue where trans people feel safe in sports. Instead, you bully them. One thing's for sure is no one in sports is safe with you around. And
that is so terrible to say, considering what Simone Biles been through, being taken advantage by a male, and understanding how as a woman your protection and your security is important, and that if you don't advocate for women or for yourself, who will advocate for you?
what was your immediate reaction when you saw what Simone Biles had to say about you, the great Olympian that she is, because nobody could question her credentials? And now that you've had an opportunity to reflect even further on what she has said, what is your reaction now?
I have looked up to her and admired her. I mean, I watched her compete in 2016, 2020, 2024, the past 9 years at this point. I've admired Simone Biles. So when I got this notification on my phone that I had been tagged in something on X from Simone, I was like overwhelmed with excitement and starstruck, and I click on it and I read what you just said out loud. And I read it again and again, and I clicked the profile, and then I went back and I clicked the profile again to make sure it was really Simone Biles. This wasn't.
And I'm going to say this. I don't know what Simone Biles was doing when she put out that tweet. Maybe she was in her fifis. Maybe she was having a good time. Maybe she just wanted to talk just to be talking. But that was really rude, everything that she said at Riley. She basically attacked Riley Gaines for standing up for women and protecting women's security and privacy, which you would think that she want because of her situation and what she's been through and the other ladies in gymnastics has been through with a male figure.
Take account, and it really was Simone Biles, and I was heartbroken. And I'll tell you what, I wasn't heartbroken because of the personal attacks, because of her calling me a bully or saying that I'm disgusting or truly sick or whatever she said. It wasn't that hurt my feelings, because I'm a very secure person. I'm secure with myself. I'm secure with the side of history that I'm on, very happily married for 3+ years. Like, none of those personal attacks bothered me. But what did bother me is knowing the platform that she has and how she was so quick in such a venomous way to sell out young girls like my little sister. Disappointed and disheartened.
So Simone Biles said, bully someone your own size, which would ironically be a male. Like, it's so crazy because Simone is literally bullying Riley Gaines on X while telling her that she's a bully. You know what it says in the word, y'all, that good will be called evil and evil will be called good. And so this is crazy because we live in a days where there is a strong delusion and people believe that if you do not allow or accept trans people in spaces where doesn't make sense for their protection and women's protection, then you're hateful, you're a homophobe, like you're so many evil things because you are on the side of truth and because you know that it is unsafe for a biological male to be in a woman's sports, which is so crazy, y'all, because they could not bulldoze a man's sport like that. They could not go in the NBA and say, oh, we're gonna force you to be okay with this woman playing ball against you. We're gonna force you to be okay with this woman being in the NFL and doing what y'all do, because they know for a fact men are not going to go for that. And they steady people within the system, not everybody, but certain people who's trying to push a demonic agenda, stay coming after the women because they feel like the woman is the weaker vessel and that women are not going to put up a strong fight. But they couldn't just do that with a male-dominated sport. They can't just force women into male sports because they know these men will not stand for it. They know these men will not play. They will not have any games happening if they try to force women. Like women who transition into men to play in these sports, they will not go for that. But they know that the women are more emotional and they try to play on that and they think that women are the weaker vessel and they're not going to stand up for themselves. But no, this is why we have Riley Gaines, because she's standing up for women in women's sports as she should and then getting attacked for it.
A woman who has done so much for the sport was so quick to pull up the ladder behind her, is how I would describe.
Biles, you brought up Larry Nassar, and that's the only thing that you said where I took issue. I took umbrage with what you said because you brought him up. This is the former national team doctor who sexually abused multiple U.S. gymnasts, including Biles, under the guise of quote unquote medical treatment. You wrote, quote, all the horrific sexual abuse Simone Biles witnessed and spoke out against caused by one man, yet believes women should be forced to strip naked in front of men to validate the man's feelings. You know how many gold medals you'd have if your inclusive dream came true? 0. That was the only thing that I criticized you for because I thought that was really, really below the belt.
I don't think that was below the belt. I think that she used a relatable situation to Simone Biles to get Simone Biles to understand her side of things, because it's easy to attack someone because you just don't understand fully. And you are allowing your emotions to dictate how you approach someone else regarding a very important and very sensitive issue. But I don't think that she hit below the belt because, as she was correct, if there was more inclusiveness in gymnastics, Simone Biles will not be winning the medals that she are winning. Like, there's a reason why they separate male gymnastics from female gymnastics. And if men were able to compete against women in gymnastics, Simone Biles would not have all those medals as much as she do, because she would be going against biological men who just, their stature, endurance, speed, agility is just a lot different from hers. And so I like how she also explained that for a woman who has been SA in the past, that you would want to create a safe and secure environment for females that is separate from biological men who obviously has more power over a woman. If something horrific was to happen inside of a locker room or inside of a woman, a sacred woman's place, because you thought that it was okay to allow men, biological men, in that space, you would feel horrible, Simone. You would feel horrible. And so instead of just reacting out of emotion, actually take a deeper look into things and say, well, you know what? There is a reason why the sports are separated. There is a reason why biological men should not compete against biological women. There is equality in the separation to give every single body a chance to compete, but compete in a way that is fair and secure and safe for especially the women that are involved.
how heinous of an individual, how despicable Larry Nassar was, and what Simone Biles was subjected to because of that man. Any regrets at all about saying that, bringing up Larry Nassar is what I'm asking.
I stand by what I said 100%, but let me provide a little context.
Okay.
First of all, for clarity, I believe Larry Nassar is a monster and who should spend every single waking second for the rest of his life miserable and rotting away in prison. There's no, me and Simone certainly agree there. Context here for the situation, again, that my own personal experience that I can speak to. I don't know if you've ever been inside of a locker room, specifically a locker room on a pool deck. Right, it's an open space. It's basically like a large square. Okay. There is no stalls beyond the stalls that you use the restroom in, but you're not putting your suit on or, of course, showering in those stalls.
Okay.
Does it get more perverted than being in a shower, which is typical for a swimming locker room, especially you're in the chlorine, you get out, you're in the pool 5 times a day, you rinse off. Does it get more perverted than standing in the shower, totally undressed, when a 6'4" man approaches you, stands in the shower head next to you, undresses himself, fully naked, fully intact, and watches you shower? That's the context I was drawing. And to me, that is sexual abuse. What me and my teammates had to go through was certainly sexual abuse. Again, for clarity.
And no woman should be forced to have to deal with that on a safety level. Again, like I said, outside of that, they're not going to let trans men, they're not going to let biological women who have gone through transition to look like a male be in a locker room with other men. There will be so many SA cases. There will be so much riots and stuff for allowing this to happen. First off, the men wouldn't even want it to happen because men wouldn't even feel comfortable if they were to force biological women who transition to men into men's sports. They would not be comfortable with that at all because there's so many layers and things that can just go wrong. And so Riley Gaines is very valid in how she feels, and I stand with that because she stands with the truth. The truth is it is not okay. There is equality by dividing the two sexes because it gives everybody a chance to show their skill set, show their talents, be powerful, be strong, and be able to win medals in their own sector. Now let's see what Simone Biles had to say after Riley Gaines responded.
I think it was a bit of damage control personally, but nonetheless, I fully accepted her apology. But in her apology, she mentions, we need to be striving for inclusivity and competitive equity. The idea of sports inherently are
Okay, let's go ahead and read this really quick. She said, I wanted to follow up from my last tweets. I've always believed competitive equity and inclusivity are both essential in sport. The current system doesn't adequately balance these important principles, which often leads to frustration and heated exchanges. And it didn't help for me to get personal with Riley, as she did get personal with Riley, which I apologize for. These are sensitive, complicated issues, not that complicated at all. You're either right or you're wrong, or it's either they can't play in women's sports or they can't, which they can't. That I truly don't have the answers or solutions to, which is why you should have stayed quiet. But I believe it starts with empathy and respect. I was not advocating for policies that compromise fairness in women's sports and security and safety. My objection is to be singling out children for public scrutiny in ways that feel personal and harmful. Individual athletes, especially kids, should never be the focus of criticism of a flawed system they have no control over. I believe sports organizations have a responsibility to come up with rules supporting inclusive while maintaining fair competition. We all want a future for sport that is fair, inclusive, and respectful. Guys, you see the men don't have to fight like this because they ain't letting no women go up against men in the men's dominated sport. You don't see no women going up against men in basketball in the actual league, like professional. You don't see any women, biological women, going against a man in the NFL, like you don't see that because they don't play no games about that stuff. whether it's contact or non-contact, it's just not okay. But empathizing is having a separate division. And if trans people don't have to dominate the women's space. They don't have to try to debo the women's space. They can easily just go into their own field with them being a biological man and be in those professional sports with other biological men. There don't need to be any extra. It's already fair as it is. It's already been fair. We cannot just change things because a certain group come up and want to change things. Again, this is where good will be called evil and evil will be called good. You are not an evil person for not wanting biological men to be in women's sports or other women's spaces. You are not evil, and don't let nobody bully you and tell you that you are. Don't let nobody bully you and tell you that you spreading hate. No, you're not. And ain't nobody got time for people to be all in their emotions. There's facts, and the facts are that biologically there are multiple major differences in men and women. And because of this is why we separated the sports between sexes, to give everybody an opportunity to compete and be very skilled and win at the things that they're skilled in. All right, so I'm gonna leave it here, guys. What do you guys think about this situation? Are you siding with Simone? Are you siding with Riley Gaines? Or are you just on the side of truth? Because that's where I am. And at the end of the day, God made male and female. They both are different for a reason, but they both complement each other in the case of marriage and coming together and doing things and solving problems and being leaders. But are they supposed to be trying to dominate each other's areas and spaces? No, because there are so many harmful and horrific things that can happen. And to avoid all of that, we just keep it separate. Again, we live in a time where even the word says that there will be a strong delusion, and people would be in a deluded state because they're so in love with darkness and they don't want to hear truth. They don't love the truth. And so they're more so deluded and focused on deception and lies and deceit. And that's where the Lord is going to allow them to stay until they decide they want to come out of it. So, guys, put your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and hit that notification bell so you receive updates when I post my next video. All right, guys, stay blessed.